All right, and we are live here in the group in Real Closers. How's it going, guys? Good morning. Good morning. We're back. We're back. Power Hour, not our regular Mondays, and we are gonna come back next Monday for sure. Every Monday, 8:30. Today, we're gonna talk about how to navigate a shifting market. Everybody is worried about interest rates. A bunch of listings are dropping their price. They're sitting. They're not getting as many offers right now. So what's going to happen? Okay, so for sure, Gustavo, we know we're not going to get into a crash. I mean, everybody's talking about a crash, and people know.
I think that's the first thing, Roberto, that I want to tell folks. Like, number one, do not get carried away by the headlines, right? Because a lot of the media, they want those clicks, they want your attention, and the attention-grabbing headline is, "Are we in a crash or not? Has the crash started?" And that's just so unrealistic, right? I actually shared an article here in the group a few weeks ago from The Atlantic that is probably the best analysis that I've seen from one of the guys that predicted, the few people that predicted the 2008, 2009 like mega crash in real estate, saying that fundamentally we're in a completely different market, different situation, different kind of debt load on homes, different kind of financial products in the market, where we might just see a run-of-the-mill standard recession. That's the worst case scenario we're looking at right now, and that's something that we can definitely navigate through. And for the real estate market, something that can happen from this shift is we're going to become a more balanced market, right? And I try to tell real estate agents, do not fear a more balanced market, because in a more balanced market, guess what? Real estate agents are more valuable. People need your help even more, right? Especially sellers. Sellers lose some of that crazy leverage they've got over everybody, and they become a little bit more reasonable, and it becomes more valuable to have a great agent sell your home. Why? Because it does not sell in 5 minutes or before it even goes on the market, and these crazy things we've been seeing the last few years. So that changes, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And guess what? You can find inventory and find homes for those buyers. So again, I'm telling you folks, do not fear a more balanced market, because that could be a really likely outcome, Roberto, because we've been in such a hyper white hot sellers market especially the last 24 months, just been nuts. I welcome a more balanced market because it's going to take a lot of that pressure off the buyers. Guys, the last 24 months have been awful to be a buyer. Just think about that, right? The competition, the stress, the anxiety, the all the work, the buyer fatigue we've been seeing, it's crazy. So again, I think that I always look at the positive, right? A more balanced market is not going to be the worst thing in the world. I think it'll actually make real estate agents more valuable, which is ultimately good for folks. But okay, let's put that in as a starting point, right? I don't think the sky is falling. I don't think there's no indication that a crash is happening or it's coming around the corner. What the Fed and the government is trying to do is slow down the market. That's what they're trying to do, right? Because we don't want runaway inflation. I am from Mexico, guys. When I was a kid in Mexico, my mom would give me lunch money, right? Every day for school. And every year she'd have to double and triple my lunch money. Like, why? And she goes, because everything costs double, triple now. And this was every semester almost, right? In grade school, in elementary school, because hyperinflation is not good, guys. Let me just tell you that. That is not a great place to be, right? So they're doing the right thing. They're doing what they got to do. I'm not going to blame them at all, right? They got to slow things down, because a high inflation, an inflationary spiral is nothing people in the US have ever experienced. It's for like the last 40 years, maybe 50 years. And even then, it was nothing like what we saw in Latin America. You don't want to be there. Don't do that. Do the smart thing. Slow things down a bit. Hopefully, they make it in for a soft landing and they nail this. I'm hoping, right? But in the meantime, we're going to see a change in the market. It's inevitable, guys, right? We're already seeing it. Redfin and Compass laying off folks. Those two companies, yeah, and I want to put that into context too. Those two companies have a business model where they bleed money, right? Compass lost $500 million last year. That was part of the plan. Grab market share, hyper growth, startup language, right? Let's lose a ton of money, grab some market share. It'll all be right fine in the end. At some point, investors pull the plug and they go, you know what, guys, you got to break even this year or be as close to breaking even as possible. So what do? They had to slash expenses. That's where they're at, right? And Redfin said, their projection for May of 2022 was 17% below what they thought. They assumed it was going to be a record-setting month, and it was a great month for real estate, don't get me wrong, but it was not where they expected it to be, so they don't need as much staff as they anticipated, right? So let's put that into context as well. Things are changing. Things are not going into the stratosphere as we had thought, right? They might just be good. It might just be a regular good market, and understand that. And this is the crazy thing about Roberto. You've always got to keep your eye on what's happening on the ground for your business locally. For example, Power ISA, we depend on the market. We sell services to real estate agents to convert leads, set appointments, get more listings, get more buyers, right? We're having a better sales month this month than last month, right? If I only looked at the headlines of, oh my goodness, the sky is falling, it's crashing, I'd be pulling back. I'd be saying, you gotta cut everything. And actually, well, no, business is going positively, right? So you've got to have an eye towards what's the future, what's going on, and you got to have another eye on your local market, your local numbers, and focus on that as well, right? Be prepared, but do not lose sight of what's actually happening in the marketplace. Have an idea of know your numbers for the market. How many active listings are there in your MLS? How many pending? How many closed, right? How many withdrawn, okay? Because that is an unbelievably important number. How many listings went off the market? Because in a shifting market, it's going from a white hot seller's market to a more balanced market, you're gonna see some listings drop off, right? People have been complaining about expireds for the last 2 years, saying, oh, it's the, and guess what, guys? There's people that, with Power ISA, I know this, never stop prospecting expireds. They never stop. They might have had to go further back in the years to get more deals, for sure. It got harder, it got way harder to prospect expireds the last 24 months. But some people never stop doing it, right? And guess what? Those folks are positioned to win. How do you navigate a shifting market? Look at the numbers, because those withdrawn, those canceled, those expired listings are going to start to creep up, and they're already creeping up in some of these markets, right? So we're at the 15th of the month yesterday. That's when a lot of, I mean, look at your MLS today. Look at it this morning. How many listings went expired yesterday, right? This morning. They might, I'm sure it was more than last month. And guess what? You're gonna see even more the next month, right? The first of the month, 15th of the month tend to be the end of the month, middle of the month, a lot of listings are gonna expire. Figure that out, understand those numbers, because those can be opportunities. They can be opportunities, guys, right? Because a year ago, it was probably impossible to have a rational conversation with most expired listings. Nowadays, now they might be more open to it. Why? Because they might have had an experience, they had the wrong expectation. Their listing went expired, but if they're motivated, if they actually have a great reason to sell, they just need someone to come in there, put their feet on the ground and tell them how to get it done. And that can be you, okay? So I think that's really, really important. Know those numbers, watch them, and look for these new opportunities. That's one way. Look at those withdrawn listings, look at them on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis. And if you want to go extreme, at the beginning of the month, at the middle of the month, watch closely how those withdrawals come on the market, off the market. Look at that, observe that, okay? Really important to understand. Know how many price reductions happen in your market. Those are, we weren't seeing those a year ago. We weren't seeing those 6 months ago. It was unheard of, reducing price. What? Everything was selling above. You were already pricing, the smart listing agents were pricing aggressively and expecting a huge jump when they got the sold price, right? Now you're seeing reductions. A lot of those list prices, observe those, see where those are going, right? That's also an indicator of how your local market is doing. I got a message this morning. I had a thread in my Facebook group about, what to do with someone that was thinking of maybe selling. Why do you say that? How do you handle that objection? Should I sell now or sell later? This guy told me he had to compete with 12 other offers for a condo in South Florida. What market shift, right? Which makes it even more important. Know your local numbers. South Florida, they don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're saying the market's slowing down, right? But in Topeka, Kansas, it might be a different story. Know those local numbers and understand them. That's number one, right? Number one, know those numbers, because there's numbers like expired listings and withdrawn listings that are really important to understand, because they're huge opportunities, right, to get listings in this market. Number two, in a shifting market, when it's going from a white hot seller's market to a more balanced market, buyers become more valuable, right? And I've been waiting, Roberto, years for this to happen, because one of the top things that an ISA can do for you is help you convert those buyer leads. It's one of the most powerful things we do in the company. I think we're 20-30% prospecting based for sellers. 70-80% of the work we do is help people sit down with, qualify, and close more buyers, right? So, and again, we've been doing that throughout this market, really hot sellers market, because buyers, the internet lead business lends itself more to buyers. The internet is great at giving buyers what they want immediately, which is access to homes. They want to see homes, they want to see pictures of homes, they want to see deals on homes, they want to see that. And the internet is great at that. It's not that great at finding people that want to sell a home. There's a lot of noise in that cap. I mean, you know, Roberto's the expert here, can fill it in, but there's a lot more noise in that. You have to cast a wider net to get sellers, right? It's harder. Conversion rates are lower, costs are higher. But buyers, that's what the internet was built for almost, right? Because it delivers that really, really well. The cost to acquire buyers and the work to get them in a contract is going to get a lot more favorable in the coming months, right? Understand that. And if you had neglected your buyer business, you got to pick up that phone and find those motivated buyers, because there's going to be more opportunity for them. At the very least, we might see decreased appreciation. So they're not going to go through the moon. At the very least, the most motivated ones still want to buy. If you have a growing family and you've got money, right, you still need a bigger home. You might not get as big a home as you wanted in January, but you still need a home, right? Because you need more room. If you've relocated because of a job, if you're working remotely and you want to change cities, right? A lot of folks leaving big cities because their work from home opportunities have become permanent opportunities. Some companies are doing that. That's great, right? They still want to relocate. And if they're moving to a lower cost area, their purchasing power has been affected, but not nearly as much in these larger markets. So buyers are going to come back into fashion, right? And I'm excited about that. I'll be really honest with you, because I had a lot of value. I had a lot of value to those buyers, right? And for the folks who remember this from 08 and 09, one of the biggest opportunities that happened in that market is people discovered how great the internet was at generating buyers, how great it was. And in 2009, 2010, buyers were at a premium, guys. It was, if you were buying homes, you were an investor, an early adopter, people that were really motivated. There's buyers in every market, right? And there's buyers in every market, but people were looking for them desperately, right? And they realized that Craigslist, Google, there was no Facebook lead gen back then, but Facebook, the Craigslist and Google were great ways. And SEO was great back then too. Easy to do. I won't say great, it's still great now, but it was easier to do back then. SEO, Craigslist, and Google pay-per-click were amazing ways to generate massive amounts of buyers at a very low cost. Those opportunities only pop up in a shifting market, right? And we'll be covering those. As we find those, what opportunities will this shifting market bring? We'll be covering those week to week here on Power Hour, so don't miss it. But right now, I'm telling you, those buyer opportunities are coming back, right? So those are two really, really important tips you can take. You can take these to the bank. They're going to be valuable. They're going to help you move your business. And I got one more. And this is a general strategy. This is not a tactic. This is a strategy you should follow. As any market shifts, you got to understand, number one, it's going to get harder to generate those same leads and those same deals, right? If you're prospecting based and you had to talk to 50 people to get a deal, you might have to talk to 60. You might have to talk to 70, right? If you want to keep those numbers consistent, you're going to have to bump up that prospecting time. It's going to take more work to get the same results in any shifting market. And I got that from Gary Keller's book, Shift, which is an amazing book, right? And we'll talk more about it in the coming weeks for sure. But that's one nugget that's just really important to understand. You want to sell another 30 homes next year, it might take 20% more work to get the same results in a shifting market. Understand that. And the other thing is, be careful if you rely on only one lead source for the majority of your business. Be careful with that. Because if you rely 100% on referral and recommendation, and for whatever reason, your demographic, your area, your sphere becomes more cautious, pulls back from the market in the next 12 months, you got to have another place to get business from. Because guess what? People are still going to be buying and selling homes regardless of where the market is. That's a fact. Even in the work, I remember I talked to was it Gene Summers out of Florida, like a massive producer for Keller Williams. I talked to him once, and he said the worst month in that part of the country, and I think it was early 09, the worst month, there were only 12 deals in the MLS done. This was the bottom, the absolute bottom of the market. And he knew there were 12 because 6 of them were his. He got half of the deals of the MLS that month. Only month that happened, because there were usually hundreds, if not thousands of deals. But that month, there was only 12, he had 6, right? So that taught me that no matter what's going on, there's always deals happening. And the way Gene phrased it is, get your unfair share of those deals. Get your unfair share, because he was fine with 6 deals in a month. He was happy with 6 transactions in a month. But most agents went out of business that month, right? They had 0 deals. So that was tough. So no matter what happens in the market, transactions are going to happen. Get your unfair share, right? Find a way. Don't rely on just one single lead source. If you've been referral and recommendation based, relying on those past clients, that friends and family, that's awesome. I think everyone should start there, but don't just rely on that. You're vulnerable to them. You're more vulnerable during the market shift. Make sure you've got one foot either in internet lead generation, you're prospecting based, making those calls. A lot of folks started prospecting based, and as soon as they could, they stopped. You know who you are, right? You know what happens. You know how it is. That's just the way it works. Pick up the phone again. Make those calls. Look at those withdrawals. Dip your toe in these other lead generation sources. Find those opportunities, because in the coming months, they can really take off. Specifically, internet lead gen, prospecting. If that's not in if you're prospecting based, and look at internet. If you're internet based, look at Sphere and look at prospecting. 3 legs of that stool. Those are the 3 easy ones, the basic ones. Prospecting based, internet lead gen based, Sphere, referral, and recommendation. 3 legs of that stool, you're going to do way better than if you're 80% of your business comes just from one, right? If you have all 3 in your business, you're going to see the shift. One of them's going to take off and one's going to go down. That's fine. You're going to survive that. If you've only got one leg on that stool, that's not a stool. What the heck is that? Like a pogo stick. That's harder to keep off. Everybody falls off a pogo stick. I don't know many people fall off a stool, at least before a few drinks, right? But a pogo stick, everybody falls off, guys. So don't be on the pogo stick. Get the stool, the 3-legged stool, and be better prepared for that shift. That's one thing I'm telling everyone to do, because it's what I'm doing in my business, right? I am huge on content, organic, referral recommendation. I don't pay for any ads. This is what I do. This is what I do. I have folks that watch my content and come to our company. It's great. If I think that's going to remain the same, if the market shifts, I'm in big trouble, right? So we are building up, the last few months, we're building up our prospecting based side of the business. We're also dipping a toe in paid ads. I've been the non-paid ads guy for a long time. There's no reason to be, right? I'm not religious about it. There's no, I can expand and find other ways to do business. There's nothing wrong with that. So be prepared, right? Shift happens. I love that phrase. Shift happens. So be prepared and diversify the lead gen. So those are 3 tips, guys. Number 1, know your numbers. Look at those withdrawals. Number 2, don't forget about those buyers. They're going to become more valuable. Call them up if they're already in your database, or find a way to get more of them in the coming months. Number 3, diversify those lead generation sources, because as the market shifts, you don't want to be left hanging if your main source shifts as well and comes down. You don't want your numbers to come down. To keep your number consistent or even grow, you got to diversify those lead sources.
Exactly. So prospect. And yeah, if you haven't started lead gen, internet lead gen, and that's Facebook, Google, give it a try. I mean, it's not going to be a quick result. I mean, you're not going to get closings like right away. It takes time. You know, I was telling Gustavo right before the call, I was talking to a guy that I was generating leads for about 12 months ago. And he, we talked this week, and he's like, hey, I barely started closing leads. I've been closing deals that we generated about 12 plus months ago. And that's just the nature of the game, right? His market specifically.
Absolutely. Right. And, and making those calls and following up, is a huge part of that. Right. And, making sure that happens can get you results. 12 months, I think it's an extreme case, but it's not rare. You're going to get deals from those leads. Some people get up and quit within a month, within 2 months, within 3 months. No, it's not working out for me. That's not a realistic time frame. to get huge ROI. You should see some leading indicators for sure. You should see some progress, but thinking you're going to make 10x your money in a couple of months is just not realistic, right? That should be, you should look at these lead sources and this progress in 6 or 12 month increments. What's been my ROI for the last 6 months, for the last 12 months, right? I don't look at any number for my sales team that's less than 3 months. It's noise. It's not very useful in less than three months increments. That's the minimum I use, right? Minimum 3 months. Otherwise, I'm getting confused. There's something happened. Guy had a bad day, bad week. Whatever happened, right? There was a monsoon, there was a hurricane. Anything can affect you, right? Stuff always happens. Look at it in the broader picture, and that gives you the truth.
Yep. That's how it works. That's just the nature of the beast. So if you have questions, drop them in the comments. If you found any value, drop in the comments. Or what are you doing right now to prospect? How are you changing your techniques, your tactics, the way you're doing things right now? Drop it in the comments. Let us know. Help us out too. And we'll be back Monday.
Yeah, we'll be back Monday. And a little commercial here. If you guys want some help implementing some of these changes, some of these tactics by adding leverage and hiring an ISA, check out the deals that we have for members of the group. Power ISA/Real Closers. Check it out. We're here to help. If you want to accelerate and get someone on your team helping you to get these things done.
Yeah, we'll drop the link in the comments too. If you have questions, let us know. All right, Gustavo. Thanks a lot, man. We'll see you Monday.